Hey, very good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Sean.
This is Alex.
And you're listening to another episode of Coaster Kings Radio. Today's episode discusses Europa-Park.
The big one.
The big German
big park.
Destination, station, multiple hotel, resort, multiple parks at this point because of Rolantica, the water park, which is part of Kronozar's hotel. Has an indoor-outdoor water park situation going on. Really awesome, well-themed. We're not really going to focus on Rolantica. We're going to focus on Europa-Park, the original park itself. Today, it's going to be like a tour. We went a couple weeks ago, and now we're going to discuss practically land by land, because everything is themed to a certain country, so country by country. We're going to be discussing the attractions we've written, what we thought of them, that kind of stuff. We'll start the entrance, actually, and dive right in.
In
Germany. So, the first thing when you enter, when you take a very sharp left, there is a new flying theater, and it's sponsored by the German airline Eurowings, part of the Lufthansa group, doesn't really matter. But it is Volotarium, which is their flying theater, loosely but also heavily inspired by the Disney Soarin' attractions.
Of all of the flying theaters that we've been on, this was the one that seemed, I think, to most unapologetically borrow from Soarin'. Because, obviously every flying theater has Soarin' in its DNA, because Soarin' is the original. But this one really doesn't try to stray away from Soarin's formula, at all. This one, the only difference really is this is themed specifically to Europe, so it's a lot of European destinations, but all of Soarin's European destinations are also here. And then a few other European destinations.
Yeah, like Neuschwanstein Castle,
Eiffel Tower, the huge. And it's also a little bit propaganda-y with the airline, fly to all these places for real. Do it for real this time and book your ticket with Eurowings. I almost said German Wings.
Eurowings.
It used to be German Wings, and now it's Eurowings, but I digress. We got to start our day with that, actually. It was the first thing we wrote, because it actually opened before the park officially opens. They start letting people into Germany. It's like this little Berlin square of sorts. Not unlike...
It's not Berlin, right, is it?
Well, it's sort of like Phantasialands is Berlin specifically.
Yeah, Phantasialand is old Berlin for some
And this one, this entrance plaza, it kind of gives me the same vibe.
It's Alexanderplatz.
Alexanderplatz?
Yeah.
Is that a real place?
Yeah, it is, but oh my god, I forgot the city it's in. Please hold.
I just kind of assumed, I guess I shouldn't, because I've never been to Berlin.
It is in Berlin, so...
Okay, so it is Berlin.
It is in Berlin.
Oh, okay,
Plaza.
alright.
Okay.
Yeah, I was right. So yeah, you enter in this street, which is... Because the Germany area is quite big. It extends well into the gardens and things. They're right off the entrance.
And but then the gardens is another place to
is,
kind of chill out.
Yeah.
And then you have...
a really fancy restaurant
Like a nice
house.
Restaurant in a Gasthaus, I think it's called. So there really isn't much in Germany except for that and having the monorail station. I will dive into the EP Express monorail a little bit later on because we took it out of Spain. So we'll discuss it in a little bit.
Aren't some of those rides there in the back, in that little loop there, are those part of Germany?
This is all already Italy.
This park has a lot of little tracked rides.
I believe it's all Italy over here.
Right there in the front, you've got a little antique car ride, little boat ride, a couple of little boat rides. Vintage cars. See, I think that's in Germany.
Yeah, it's in Germany.
Okay.
So the upper midway is in Germany, lower midway
the little
antique,
the little antique cars by the river are part of Germany, and then there's that little boat ride, the clown-themed boat ride with the little clown vignettes. We didn't ride everything, because riding everything at Europa-Park seems to be
we rode a lot, though.
Virtually impossible. Yeah, we did I think we did extremely well for our one day, and one day definitely felt like enough.
So let's go ahead and
So let's go to Ireland.
Let's go to Ireland.
We didn't actually go into this area, but if we
took the sky ride nearby and we saw the area.
Observation tower,
which is also in the sky. It's also a ride, so therefore it is a sky ride.
I don't want anyone to think. I don't want the Von Roll enthusiasts to be like, "Hey, there's no sky ride here." Okay. So Ireland was it was a pre-existing kiddie area, and then they rethemed it and it has a little roller coaster. That was like the only.
It
area.
wasn't previously Ireland, though, was
Right?
it?
No, it was just.
And so
a
they
kid
made it.
area,
Yeah, it was
so
like
they,
a subsection of England or whatever, UK.
It just didn't have a country theme. It was just like
Lame.
Candyland.
How can we a Europa-Park don't have a country theme?
That's why they fixed it.
Ireland is home to Baba Express, which is a tiny little kiddie coaster
Tiny,
from
like really
Art.
tiny.
We do not know who Art is, but we also didn't ride the coaster. We actually skipped that credit because neither of us really cared that much.
Yeah, we didn't even set foot in the area, but it looked really cute from the sky ride.
Yeah, there's also like a giant playground, which is cool.
Very European.
Very European.
I'm gonna look up art engineering. I'm pretty sure it was just spun off of Mack rides in some capacity.
Was it?
Where is this? That looks familiar.
Baden-Württemberg, yeah, this, well, this is a province. We've been to the province.
Okay. I would assume they must be related to Mack in some way, because, like, I don't know why Mack would ask anyone to build a ride that... Oh, I was like, okay, so they conspired with Lagoon to build Cannibal, apparently, and Bombora, the family coaster there. And
it's fine though, because it's actually really close to Mack, right? It's not the same location, but same province.
Fridolins Verrückter Zauberexpress at Fantasiana.
Oh, beautiful.
That sounds interesting.
Anyway, so this is a like tiny kiddie coaster, and
they did Wonder Mountain's Guardian.
That's by them. That's not a
yeah.
Whatever.
Anyway, sorry.
Continue.
Focus. I'm
we
focusing.
are now heading over to forget Ireland. We didn't really care. We didn't really go in there. It was
Sorry,
cute.
Ireland.
There was a little kiddie coaster.
I'm sorry, Ireland, that you got relegated to a kiddie park.
Anyway,
England.
Okay, we also didn't ride anything in England.
We didn't ride anything in England.
But it's kind of like
but
a street.
Walked around. We enjoyed it.
It
has two little flat rides that are indoor, which I think is cute. It's got the taxi cab.
Yeah, the taxi cab thing is what I was thinking about.
Little cuddle up type ride, and then the London bus, little kiddie crazy bus ride. That's cute. There's also a bumper cars. A bumper cars. Excuse me. There's some bumper cars, and they're themed to football.
So are you still listening at this point?
That's inside the white dome that's right there in the center. Which I don't think we went in there on this trip, did we?
We did not, no.
Nothing too crazy special.
Let's move over to the
Fairy Tale Forest.
And the Minimoys, how do you pronounce it? The little Arthur?
Yeah,
Minimoys.
So there's one ride in the Fairy Tale Forest that's the little Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, gem mine kitty track ride. That's super, super cute. Very Disney type of thing, but distinctly more European. And definitely more focused on the Grim Tale than on the Disney version. Tucked away across the bridge over the river from the Fairy Tale Forest area is the Arthur area, which is more or less a subsection of Fairy Tale Forest.
Yeah, it's kind of like an indoor land-ish, but it's mostly just like an entrance to the ride with a couple of slides. And then the ride is kind of overhead.
There's some sort of small, wasn't there a little tower type ride indoor in there? There was a couple of little other oddball things, but it's all about the Arthur the ride. That's everything else just kind of is there.
Now, admittedly, I didn't care for it. The ride ran well because it's a Mac, but the show scenes were okay. There's the Moulin Rouge scene that was good.
I loved watching POVs of this ride on YouTube. So even though I hadn't ridden it, I knew I already liked it a lot and I was really excited for it. And yeah, actually, it did not have the impact for me that I thought it would. It videotapes really well.
One problem is that it's trying to use
there's a lot of screens,
flat screens to portray motion simulator moments, but it doesn't work because they're just flat screens with
the quality
really
of the
weak projections on
yeah.
them. And then you're supposed to imagine being lowered into the grass and growing the size of a Minimoy, whatever.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work. It's really kind of really bad, a good transition between
it's
scenes.
Awkward how much better the ride seems to work as a video POV because you don't notice how much you lose in terms of depth with all of the screens because you're watching it on a screen. But when you're seeing it in person, the depth that you lose with all of the screens and the low quality projections is so much more noticeable.
And the funny thing is, the ride is so popular. It's actually, I think, the most popular attraction in
Crazy
the park.
popular.
But it's not something I would ever wait for. Like we were able to get a virtual queue. So on the app, you can get free virtual queues. You can skip a couple lines.
That
kind of like Fast
system.
Pass.
Yeah.
Back in the day, but it's all virtual.
Like Max Pass.
Yeah, but for free.
Included, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not for all rides, just for a few.
There's
but
like 6 rides on the
yeah, and so
pass.
that worked out. But God, I would have been pretty upset if we had waited for it. It really wasn't that good, in my opinion. But,
yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on it.
But yeah, it wasn't. It ended up not being the highlight that I hoped it would be.
Next up,
moving on.
we're going to Austria.
My favorite country.
Yep.
In Europa-Park, because I think the triage of rides, the Log Flume, the Alpen Express, Blauer Ensign, and the Gem Mine walkthrough are such an amazing little
interwoven
ride
world
synergy moment.
So let's start with the Blauer Ensign, which is Alpen Express. Just like a typical powered coaster from Mack.
It's the park's first coaster.
But the nice thing about it is that like you go through these caves, you kind of like a double helix in there, and in those caves there's also the Log Flume, and there's also a really interesting walkthrough, which is the Gem Mine walkthrough, and all this kind of really works well together. Lots of animatronics, very pleasant.
I could just hang out in the Gem Mine walkthrough part like for ages.
Yeah, that was really, really fun.
Watching the boats go by, there's animatronics and just all sorts of things worth looking at. The walkthrough portion, you kind of go up some stairs. You're up on the edge of the building. There's some scenes, and you get a nice view of the first helix, which is an outdoor helix on the Blauer Ensign. You can see the Log Flume kind of in the background. Then you go inside, and all the track of the two tracked rides are all nicely interwoven with each other. And then the walkthrough is like a series of catwalks and bridges and staircases up and down. And then it feeds into this like underground gem village with like little storefronts and stuff. And it's just like this stunning mosaic work. And then it continues into like a jewelry store. and then before you know it, you're back out in the rest of the Austria area. I just it was one of the last things that I did on my first Europa-Park trip, and I was so glad that I just we did it, because I was like, wait a minute, this is like super cool. And it's always just been a charming thing about the park that I just feel like it's Europa-Park at their best.
Yeah, and the Tiroler Wasserbahn, which is their Log Flume, is also really nice because it's nicely decorated. It's not very long, but like it has those big Mack flume boats, and it has a decent layout with one kind of like fast drop. It's elevated, goes through the caves, which is really fun, and then you have like obviously like your bigger finale drop. Quite a soaker. I was really wet, but it was. I mean, the weather was nice.
At least it's Germany and not freaking Florida.
Yeah, so yeah, I really enjoyed that area, and then it's also home to like a wave swinger, and then
wave swinger.
It's home to the
boat ride that
magical
used to be
princess that was.
They used to have like a Jungle Cruise-esque towboat ride in this goofy little Adventureland area that was literally just like this one ride, but they definitely just did away with the Adventureland area and incorporated the walkway to the ride and the ride itself into Austria. Mack has a media company, Mack Media, and they're producing all of these intellectual properties. They're trying to be a Disney type thing, and I say try because some aspects of this venture are more successful than others. In this case, it's like we didn't ride the little boat ride, but we did notice how it looked from the monorail, and it's definitely interesting looking, but I would be curious, maybe not positively or negatively, but just kind of ambivalently curious, if the reskin of this ride it's about a little Austrian princess girl, I guess, and she has her own TV show or whatever. I'd be kind of curious how it went, but I'd be afraid that it wouldn't be, it wouldn't seem like a very substantial reskin of the ride, because I remember liking the Jungle Cruise type thing that it was before, and now it has a completely different theme, and I don't know. It's just looking at it, it looked a little odd, a little like I don't know, kind of out of place, but I really shouldn't be passing too much judgment. It's probably would be a good one for us to YouTube or something out of curiosity. But anyway, after Austria, and there's the little, how could I forget, there's the little mushroom swing, the zero wave swinger, that's a giant mushroom.
Yeah, we did talk about it already.
Did we?
Yeah, for like a quick second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry.
let's follow that walkway into what is, I think, the most beautiful area. Share with the Netherlands, because,
Yeah.
Is Spain. Because Spain also has a really distinct, it's kind of like a half moon shaped walkway. It's like a half circle.
Super nice.
But it's just very nicely detailed, and there's good sidelines. It's also where the entrances are to most of the hotels. So most of the hotels...
The hotel that's right there is a Spanish hotel, right?
Yeah, they got 3 Spanish-themed hotels, / Portuguese hotels, I guess. And then Colosseo and Belrock all enter there.
Yeah.
So it's like a big entrance of 5 hotels, which is kind of neat.
My first visit, my Europa-Park day, started there. Like, starting in Germany this time, even though that's like the normal entrance, was kind of a new thing for me, because prior to that, it's like, oh, Spain. Like, this is where our Europa-Park adventure begins as resort guests.
And it's also home to a couple of flat rides, some really nice restaurants, and then also the one of the stations to the Europa-Park Express, the EP Express, which is the big monorail.
Yeah.
So this park has a couple of different monorails. This is the big one that goes around the park, a la Disneyland style.
It has 3 stations, Germany, Spain, and Greece. And then there's another monorail, which we'll get to in a little bit, that has 2 stations. It's like a little outdoor, like more of like a people mover-y type monorail. Whereas the MP Express is like the big monorail.
EP Express, yeah.
Oh, EP Express.
MP Express is an SLC.
MP Express is an SLC.
Not similar. So EP Express was fine. I mean, it was a cute ride. Pretty nice to kind of get like a scenic view. Not to be confused
also with the train ride. Because they also have a traditional train that has like a station in Russia. And I forget where else. Did we ride it? We didn't ride the little train. No, we rode both of the monorails, but we did not ride the little train.
So yeah.
Lots of fun transportation rides here. It's very
pleasant. It's a pleasant experience to get to the front of the park. We took it from Spain to Germany to kind of restart our lap, because we did kind of like 2 laps around the park.
Yeah.
And that was really pleasant. The station's nice. Overall, nice visit to the park, because it's such a densely packed park. Kind of like the monorail in Anaheim. It's just fun to just kind of look at all of it happening. Travel's quite a distance. We enjoyed it. We also rode the other monorail. We'll talk about it a little bit later, which I think I enjoyed even more.
Yeah.
So Spain, we didn't actually ride much. We just took the monorail out.
Yeah, we technically didn't ride.
We saw a photo op
ride.
with the mouse guy, Mouseketeer, Bubblier, I don't know his name.
Voletarium and the mice, and like there's the number of Disney parallels here is still very entertaining.
And we haven't even gotten to like the most Disney-ish Disney stuff, which is the funniest thing.
Yeah, there's some pretty funny stuff here where, and they're pretty transparent about it. Like they would never deny that they didn't take like tons of Disney influence. Back when Disney was not a presence in Europe, it was an opportunity for them to like do some stuff that worked for Disney, and so it's going to work for us. But then some of it has really not aged well, and it's actually pretty funny. But yeah, okay, so moving
next on the list will be Portugal.
Yeah, Portugal.
Which is right next to it. Also not a whole lot to the area.
Yeah,
it almost feels
area.
like they took Spain and they had like, I had this new idea so we can introduce a new country.
Yeah.
So Atlantica Super Splash, which is a Max Super Splash, as the name implies.
It has a great queue and a great station.
The queue is honestly kind of wild.
And a nice splashdown.
It is a really normal ride. It's just like a production model.
Very off the shelf otherwise.
But the queue can hold like thousands of people. It's pretty
huge.
insane. Which is the case for most queues there, but that's a particularly wild one. So you enter a pirate ship, which has a couple pirate animatronics. It's like crashed. Not really a pirate ship, more of like an exploration Portuguese ship.
It's like it reminded me of the Columbia.
Because back in the day, in the golden age of the Netherlands, for example, when Portugal, Netherlands, the UK, those were like the big superpowers on the oceans. So that's obviously the kind of the point of Atlantica Super Splash is the Atlantic ship. Mm-hmm. Adventures of the Portuguese. And then after you go to the ship, there's a lot of suspects outside. Luckily, we don't have to wait in them. And then you go up in this giant fort.
Into the fort.
And that fort houses even more queue. You just can't believe how much queue this place holds. And then below that is the station with even more switchbacks. Yeah. And then you get to the actual ride. Ride itself, Quite simple, right?
Yeah.
It just does,
After Chime on Ocean Kingdom, it felt very simple.
It was very simple. I enjoyed the integration with the midways around it, so that like people can get really wet, and there's like these splash effects, and the monorail kind of goes
the
over
outdoor
it.
monorail offers great
There's like
views.
the fake dolphins that like make
Dolphins.
sound, like.
And friggin' Greece has the same dolphins, so like there's just a dolphin fascination here.
Yeah, anywhere there's blue water, they figure they put dolphin statues in them. Not real dolphins, dolphin statues.
They probably have dolphins in the little Austria Adventureland lagoon too. We just didn't notice them. Like who knows?
That's so funny.
Who knows? But
so
that's really it for Portugal. Like,
yeah,
it's
Portugal
just
that
the ride. Like, I can remember when they added Super Splash and like Portugal was like a new area for the ride. So I'm guessing that like they took a little bit, and this was before Iceland had been opened. So I think it was just a little bit.
Oh, you went before Iceland opened?
No, I just remember reading about it.
Gotcha,
I remember reading about Super Splash and being like, "Oh, Portugal, new country," and it was like. They were already started work probably on Iceland. Because, like, you'll notice, like, with Wodan, for example, like, it's definitely intertwined. And, like, it was co-designed, I think, with Super Splash in mind.
So, yeah, let's talk about Iceland. First of all, funny story. We came in through the Scandinavia side, and it said in Icelandic, Iceland. Which is spelled island.
Yeah, just island.
And for a second, we're like, oh my god, we're going to the island.
It's the island
of Scandinavia.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was just funny in the moment.
It's just funny.
Really translate,
So the funniest, for me, Iceland cracks me up because it's like, I feel like they had room to expand. They wanted this big expansion, but they were like sort of running out of countries. So Iceland, of all places, got like the giant like double E-ticket roller coaster area and the splash battle, and then you have like Scandinavia next to it, which is all 4 countries in one area that is
like
smaller. That is smaller
than
than Iceland. Like,
yeah,
I kind of feel like they should redistribute. They should turn the whole area into like the Nordic countries. Because technically, Scandinavia doesn't even include Norway, if I'm not mistaken. It's Sweden, Denmark.
I don't think there's Norwegian flags either, though. Over there.
Yeah, well, no, the little emblem on the map has the 4 flags. It's like a little quad cross. So I think they should, in my humble opinion, because Scandinavia technically doesn't even include Norway, but the 5 countries together are the Nordic countries. I think they should turn the whole area, Iceland and Scandinavia, into the Nordic countries. And then it's not like this one little country with all of these big-ass rides, and then like 4 countries crammed into the small Scandinavia midway.
So yeah, anyway, let's talk about the rides. So Wodan, which is their big GCI wooden coaster, stands very tall, kind of has the, in very many ways, it honestly felt so much like Apocalypse, just on a different scale. Because that's the same thing where it has a little pre-lift, and then it has a pretty tall lift, and then a high turnaround and a dive underneath its own superstructure, and then it kind of has this like, kind of out and back moment, and then it has a kind of like separated loop that it's kind of separated from the rest of the ride plot. Here it's intertwined with Atlantica Super Splash.
You can tell that the rides were designed at like the exact same time.
Yeah, which they were. Totally feel like super similar, except for one is a little bit larger. But believe it or not, I actually prefer Apocalypse over.
Apocalypse.
I feel like for the size of Wodan,
it doesn't do a whole lot.
It doesn't do a whole lot at all. It's kind of short, and yeah, it has some big elements which I kind of enjoyed. I mean, there's no bad GCIs.
No.
Like I have a hard time stumbling here.
Well, there might
words,
be 1 or 2.
but I like all GCIs. I'm always such a big fan. So like, yeah, it's still a good ride. But I feel like for the size and for how much it's hyped up. Wasn't all that for me personally. Yeah. I liked it, but I didn't love it.
And for me, like, I really enjoyed it, and I've always liked that ride, and I think it's probably my favorite coaster there. But we did the virtual queue, and it takes you straight to the ride,
which is nice. Yeah.
And it's almost. But then I was like kind of bummed because the queue for the ride is amazing. If memory serves, I don't know. It's been a long time. Like maybe it isn't as amazing as I thought it was when I went like 9 years ago. But I think on our next visit, like, maybe we should go through the queue. But on the other hand, it's like, well, if you can shave off 45 minutes of your day by doing virtual queue, like, why would you go through the queue? Like, it's no queue is worth, like, waiting in when you could not wait in it. Especially since Europa-Park doesn't accommodate row requests. So, like, you're going to get assigned whatever row you're assigned, whether you wait in line or you don't. So, we just walked right up. It felt like we were walking up like a service staircase, right? Which it probably was before they started the virtual queue system. And I was like excited that we got on so quick because the lines for some of these rides
we walked
were,
straight
like,
on
up to an hour,
which is funny because it's still a busy park. It's still like springtime, so yeah, we're kind of lucky with that. And of course, also our Blue Fire, which is my favorite coaster at the park.
I really enjoyed Blue Fire.
I'm a big Steel Looper
Maybe that
kind of
one's
guy.
my favorite. I don't know because I really
it ran
love
so well.
the layout is awesome. The plot under the ride.
It was my second Blue
Stunning.
Fire clone because I had ridden
first one was
one in
Steam
China
Racers.
at Wuxi Sunac Land, which I really enjoyed that already, and it wasn't quite as well themed. It was like a decent queue, but like it wasn't super well themed.
And it has the dancing fountains like along the launch. Like
I like the entrance in the queue. The presents were
yeah,
awesome.
But then they're
there really isn't much to the queue for Blue Fire either because they practically have a giant building of just switchbacks and some pretty poor animations on the walls.
Yeah, the sponsorship.
Yeah, it's just kind of really annoying.
Kind of like an Epcot moment of like.
And then you get outside and you just kind of stand in like this really long line with nothing to look at between the launch and that building. So the queue isn't anything to write home about because most of the queue has now been converted into either overflow or also Wodan overflow. So Wodan and Blue Fire share the same queue space.
Yeah,
they just use it for whichever ride needs it more.
And when you're
usually
and
Wodan.
you can walk through it and we went in there and just looked around and took pictures.
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff.
fun. We actually kind of like roamed around all Blue Fire and opened midways because there wasn't enough
Wasn't
queue.
there like a little sign for it that said like viewing or something?
Yeah, it said like Blue Fire or like loop viewing or something.
Yeah, it was some funny little sign. It was a tiny little sign that was like pointing through the superstructure for Wodan, like basically like go this way if you want to look at the rides or something. And it's like, oh, this is nice. Like they used the overflow queue as like viewing area, like a little walkthrough attraction if they're not using it for queue, which I don't think they need it for queue
on our
for either of these rides. Most of the time. Well,
it seems to be used quite a bit in photos and videos, but it wasn't that busy, I guess, during our trip.
But yeah, Blue Fire really impressed. It's aging really well.
The scenes
smoothly. Before the launch are way better than I remember. And you can go inside the little buildings in Iceland and like watch the launch dispatch from inside the little storefronts, which I did not know until this visit. Like we wandered in there and I'm like, oh my god, the ride's right there. Like you can.
So the cool thing is, guys, on our YouTube channel, and this is actually our longest vlog we've ever done. It's an hour-long vlog. I actually really love this vlog.
Oh my gosh.
Can't wait to watch it back. We show you like all corners of this park. Really fun. So if a lot of this is like, wow, like hard to visualize because we're kind of just like rampaging through this.
Yeah.
Watch that vlog. It's like an hour of just like really cool fun stuff.
Rampaging through this is exactly how we approach the park.
Us making mistakes and what we're talking about. But so definitely go check out our YouTube channel. Shameless plug. Anyway, in Scandinavia as well, well, in Iceland we kind of did that. And
we didn't do the splash battle.
We didn't do the Will Tour splash battle.
People really do those.
And then
you got a hot dog.
I got a vegan Icelandic hot dog, and I made the mistake in the vlog of saying, "Oh my god, like IKEA," but IKEA is totally from freaking Sweden,
and
it's headquartered in Netherlands.
In there, yeah.
Whatever, put a little note in there. Funny. Anywho's, it was really great. Sven actually recommended it.
And what's funny is if you've been to Reykjavik, like you know that hot dogs are a big thing there. So I thought it was funny that they had an actual hot dog stand in Iceland with like really good hot dogs.
That is funny.
Definitely did their research.
And then let's move on to Scandinavia itself. So
the rest of the Nordic countries.
You have a swinging ship, all cute, all happy, all dandy, all fun. But the real star is fjord rafting.
Yeah.
Okay, so fjord rafting, like big half burnt down alongside Piraten of Batavia, which is in a different area we'll talk about later. But they had to rebuild some of it, so they kind of put more theming into it. And honestly, this raft ride was awesome. I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, I got wet, but like I really, really enjoyed it nonetheless.
If you have seen Frozen and the trolls in Frozen, those are based on actual Norwegian mythology. That might be
Norse, right?
Normal people probably
Norse
know about that.
folklore.
I didn't quite realize or put that two and two together, but it actually kind of makes sense in retrospect because everything in Frozen is kind of based on local, like Norse mythology, but yeah, so the trolls from Frozen, more or less, are in fjord rafting. So there's a lot of scenes on the ride that are very cute. Like, they really did a fabulous job breathing new life into this Rapids ride. Rapids rides, I feel like, are having a moment for us here at Coaster Kings, because, like, we've really been enjoying some Rapids rides lately. Fjord rafting,
we just,
Shipwreck Rapids, like...
we rode Infinity Falls recently again. We love Kali. We just did.
We just rode Grizzly River Run again
say,
for the first time in a while, and it was amazing. For the first time in forever, I should say.
And of course, there is Excalibur for Germany, which is doing that trip. So yeah, we're definitely kind of on the kick. But this I enjoyed because it took a naturalistic approach, which I'm always kind of like for that. I think, though a really heavily themed one like Excalibur is really unique. There really aren't that many dark ride. Rapids rides out there. In fact, there's like almost none. They're mostly just
this
kind
one
of
has
thematic.
just like that one scene in the rocks,
tunnel,
which is really cool.
Yeah, it has that waterfall. Like this Rapids ride for some reason uses at 3 separate points a wave machine to wave you around, which is like unusually large amount. So you have a wave section that's kind of early on in the ride. Then you have one that's by the fjord water, like by the fjord buildings, and then you have one where the waterfalls are. It's a wave pool central at fjord rafting. I just enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a great ride,
and especially because it's so intimate in some points, but it's all by this beautiful Scandinavian architecture and now there's an edge.
It's like a postcard.
Yeah, it's really really fun, and it's honestly one of the biggest market things. I remember as a kid, I lived on the German border for most of my life, and whenever we'd go to Germany to like shop for clothes and stuff, there'd be like these coupons for Europa-Park, and it always had the freaking fjord rafting on it. Yeah. It was always fjord rafting on it.
Of that ride.
So it was kind of fun finally riding it. Actually,
we rode it towards the end of the day because it was sort of one of those rides where like, well, if we run out of time, we run out of time. But then once we rode it, we were like, wait a minute, like this was a total highlight.
Yeah, I'm so glad we did that.
It was a total highlight for the day. I think Europa-Park is definitely trending up because I think 2 of our favorite rides the whole day were actually their 2 most recent attractions.
Yeah, like fjord because rafting. They were like forced to update it.
Yeah, forced to rebuild it and make it better. So,
and then fjord in the rafting. Same area is Snorri-Touren.
Oh yeah, Snorri-Touren. That was really good too.
Snorri-Touren is a dark ride to promote Rolantica. So Rolantica, that new water park that's indoor, heavily themed, has a main character Snorri. It's a little octopus. And the little octopus, Snorri, he's like super adventurous, super cute, he's Norsk, or whatever he is. And you go through this little dark area, which is underground, so it's underneath the midway level, so it's like kind of like a hidden building. And it just kind of takes you on this little tour with these like evil mermaids. I don't know, it's a wild story, it doesn't really matter. And then there's actually a part where they pull this like really classic kind of vehicles into these little simulators. Like the track does a whole lot of work it doesn't need to do. But they could because they could, I guess, and then you end with a simulator. A really fun, cute ride, highly themed. I actually really enjoyed it.
It was cute.
One of the better dark rides in the park.
People just didn't know it was there. Like there was,
there
was like a little sign out front saying like, "Oh, Snorri-Touren." Like this area that this ride is in used to be just like you would go downstairs. And it was like a little diorama. Like it was literally just a small walkthrough. They put a whole dark ride down there.
Yeah,
I don't know if like there had always been space down there. Like maybe there used to be a dark ride and then it closed or whatever. But like there's the whole midway, the main drag for Scandinavia is elevated. So like the whole ride is happening beneath you. It's very clever use of space. Makes sense because like the Rapids ride is also on ground level. So when you're up in that,
so what I think is, what if Snorri-Touren, because I'm pretty sure it shares show building
with Pirates and Batavia.
Since it was all built at the same time, and the Rapids ride shares the tunnel with it.
Yeah,
it's like 3 rides sharing, kind of like one show building. They may have had some more room for it
in the process,
and they were able to put a little extra ride in there.
Although, didn't Snorri-Touren happen before the fire?
No, I don't think so.
I can't even remember.
That must have been
apologize if we're like completely messing up the timeline because like didn't Snorri-Touren open? Well, maybe not because it opened in coincidence with Rolantica, like to promote the park. So I guess it opened in like 2020. But then when was the fire?
Snorri-Touren opened actually in 2019.
Okay, yeah, because it was really about like because it's a Nordic themed hotel. They're like, yeah, we'll put a ride in the area that is themed. Sean is looking it up right now because like, when was the Pirates in Batavia fire? But like,
the Pirates of Batavia 2018. Before, they are co-built,
so they totally.
So all that is co-built.
So yeah,
it just took them way longer to build Piraten than they did to build Snorri, which is the quickest fix.
So Snorri-Touren came as a result of the construction area, the construction zone with the fire.
God, is that long ago already? It feels more recent.
2018. Yeah, it does feel recent.
It's like 4 years
I
ago.
couldn't
already.
remember if that had happened before or after COVID. Like, that's how messed up my
I
memory
knew it was
is.
before COVID. I thought it was most recent. Anywho,
Anyway,
so yes,
Pirates of
a
Batavia.
bunch of
We are in
building.
Netherlands now.
So we're leaving Scandinavia, and we're going through this little hallway into
Yeah, the little enclosed walkway with a gift shop and
my
stuff.
favorite area, not just because I'm Dutch and I really enjoy having like Dutch themed areas that are pretty accurate,
But it is objectively
but
the
objectively
best.
it's the best area because it's the only area with no sideline issue. So like the whole Dutch area, like the whole like plaza, the Holland area it's like a little Zaanse stad we call it, which is kind of like a sea town kind of city, which with high 4-story kind of buildings. So like
It gives
it's
me
really
some,
nicely like it's,
Diagon Alley vibes.
yeah,
a
totally.
little
So
bit.
like it's really they can't really see any other land from it, and the only other way to get to Scandinavia is like to go through the tunnel. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed that part of it. We have our favorite restaurant and our favorite ride here.
The best ride in the park and the best restaurant in the park are right
and
here.
perhaps the best snack if you're at the Poffertjes. We
Yeah,
have Poffertjes
and
there.
easily the best walk-up
God, I love this area. It's so funny.
Yeah.
I like not to like suck my own Dutch dick, I guess, but like I just really love
Did you
this
just-
area.
Did you really just say that?
I mean, people who listen get it. I think, hopefully.
No, that's fine.
Anyway, so let's start with the Poffertjes. So they have a Poffertjeskraam. It's like a little restaurant where they sell Poffertjes.
Poffertjes are like little
Mini pancakes.
little flying saucer shaped pancakes.
So traditionally you get it with a little bit of butter and then some powdered sugar on it, but you can also nowadays get it like most places with like hazelnut or chocolate, whatever. So Alice had the chocolate one, I guess got the classic, a little bit of butter and some powdered sugar. Phenomenal. And then we actually had to rush eat it because we got virtual queue for Piraten. Now suddenly the virtual queue was ready early. So then we got into the virtual queue. Piraten in Batavia is their new stellar modern dark ride. Water ride.
They changed everything.
It
with
is
this ride.
really stupid good. Like I really enjoyed it. So the queue itself. So Batavia is in Indonesia, which was a trade town in the golden age of the Netherlands. That was set up there. It's the modern day Jakarta. Anyway, so that's kind of what the setting is. And then this pirate, which is like a modern Dutch blue-eyed blonde pirate
He's kind of a stud.
with fucking tattoos and shit. Like he's kind of
brought
hot.
to you by Mac Media. Mac Media took the opportunity to create a sexy daddy pirate with blonde hair and blue eyes who is in charge of the ride, and I'm just like, holy.
And this magical map, and he like fights tigers and shit. Like it's pretty wild. And he and his little. Is it a monkey, right?
Is it a monkey?
No, it's an otter!
Oh,
it's
that's
an
an
otter!
It's a fucking sea otter.
We love it.
It's pretty amazing.
Anywho, so like Otter Friend and like this multilingual Dutch, English, German speaking.
Oh yeah, he speaks
pirate
French too. He
and
speaks all
French.
these
Like,
languages.
he went to Dutch high school for sure.
Right.
And
He must have applied for KLM Royal Dutch Airlines
Oh
with
my
all
God.
those language quals.
This is amazing. Anywho, so then like you go through this queue and like he has this magical map that like takes us to like the Temple to Tiger, if I'm not mistaken, which is now the right. And then so like you board.
The queue is incredible.
So if I'm not mistaken, you actually do board in Amsterdam, but maybe in Batavia. I'm not entirely sure.
Or maybe you
because
start in Rotterdam or something.
No. It's either Amsterdam area or like in North Holland, or it's actually in Batavia because it was Dutch people building their own town in the Indies. So I'm not entirely sure because I was just, you're not in that room for very long.
But the queue is like super amazing because it's like at one point you go in, it's like a 2-story room.
Yeah, it's like a big warehouse.
Warehouse. It's
and then you go outside into the streets, but then you immediately board your boat. So I'm not entirely sure where we are
in this queue. Like amazing.
So then you sail through like the dark, cloudy, almost like Vliegende Hollander similar dream situation, and then you got some lightning strikes. He speaks to you, and then there is this like drop.
Yeah.
And the drop is awesome.
The drop is awesome.
It's not like super big,
you
but it's
sail
like a decent size.
into the first scene, and it just
a lot of speed
is so beautiful.
And you sail into this rainforest,
blossoms around you as you splash
the whole
down.
scene like lights up as you splash down, and then there's this portal kind of like through the rocks that's outside, like kind of like this like screen behind, almost like Navi River Journey, but not quite as high detail. But kind of like they use screens in the distance to like create depth, which really works on this. And then you sail through this, and then there's this water screen that you go towards, and there's like projections on the water screen that are like shadows, and that brings you to the next scene. Lots of animatronics. The scenes are really detailed, so there's not like Pirates of the Caribbean where there's like a ton of scenes. Here it's more split up between like 5 really distinct
like
kind
in
of
one
environments
scene for a really long time, and they're
really like build these kind of worlds, and the facial expressions on the animatronics are just incredible. There's another character that is also mentioned in the queue. She is a like an Asian descent. I take it more regional to the Batavia, Karta, Indonesia region character, and she is also a pirate. So they have a modern Asian representation, boss girl pirate also in there.
Girl boss pirates in Batavia.
Yes, it's I love the two characters, how completely different they are. And then so you're kind of like in the Indonesian area, and then all the show scenes actually connect in a way so you can actually see through the second major scene into the final temple jungle area. Anyway, then there's a typical fort situation with like exploding cannons and the pirate ship and them being on the ledge and the otter, and it's almost in a way, if you're familiar with Tokyo Disney Seas, Shandu and Sinbad on
the storybook
that kind of relationship where it's like the cheeky but really smart little tiger that saves Sinbad's ass half the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the otter and the Dutch pirate guy.
This was big Storybook Voyages, Sinbad vibes.
And then there's really nice use of projection mapping. And then the final scene eventually that you get to, I'm not going to go with everything. You have the big temple where there's a tiger and then, the bad guy climbing away. And then the magical map unlocks the temple. And you go into the temple itself, which is a really clever projection mapping.
Oh,
almost like Indiana Jones and the Temple Forbidden Eye, when like they do that really smooth projection mapping when you choose the door.
Mara, yeah.
That's kind of how that whole scene is, but it's like on water, and then there's the map in the middle, and and then you.
And really, the final scene is you do a little loop around
the final scene is inside of Bamboo Bay, which is a Bamboo Bay, I guess in English.
Yeah.
Is their restaurant, which the ride sails through. And funny enough, you can actually sit like in all parts of the ride. There's like elevated seating above the ride, so it's kind of cool. And then we left Pirata Batavia, and we were like kind of hungry, and they just opened the doors to Bamboo Bay. So we're like, okay, this is the restaurant we have to hit. Spend all this
day. They got a great table.
Indonesian food. I love that because if anyone...
The food was superb.
If anyone listening is Dutch, you know that like Indonesian food is a really big part of our culture, and like we make it a lot, and we eat it a lot, and then we call Chinese food... we call Indonesian food sometimes even Chinese food, even though it's not even Chinese. So we went and ate at Bamboo Bay, and they had vegan options. Like, it was just like all around working out, and they assigned tables, which kind of scared us. We're like, oh my god, we're like table 8, are we in a good spot? But table 8 was still facing the water.
Amazing, yeah.
And we had this awesome tapioca with like traditional Indonesian...
Tempura banana, you guys.
Yeah, the typical like sugary fried banana.
So good.
Really awesome. We had... like a bami, which is like a noodle dish, and they made it vegan. They had like a vegan option with like cilantro and stuff on there. It was just overall, like, honestly, one of my favorite food park meals.
It was a premium dining
really
experience that was quick.
We had some little vegan lumpias.
Oh yes, the lumpias.
Like 8 of them.
Those were awesome.
Oh,
they were like little baby lumpias.
I'm like hungry. I want to go eat there.
It was good as hell.
So good.
But yeah, so this ride and the restaurant attached, I mean, slam.
Probably our favorite part of the park. It's
Absolutely.
like, we rode that thing the most anything.
We rode it like 4 or 5
times. Because later there was no line. Earlier we had to wait like an hour.
It.
Because the station only holds one boat at a time, which is kind of weird because they could have done more given it was like completely rebuilt.
Yeah.
But I digress. And then we rode it like 3 or 4 times in a row later in the day.
Yeah.
And then... Yeah, so anyway, we really loved that.
I think we rode
really, really fun.
This ride definitely wears its influences on its sleeve. Like, I think what's great about this ride is it's not an original ride. It's not an original idea. It's not trying to be. This ride succeeds and is memorable and just a huge knockout because it takes all of the right influences from a lot of different places. Like, there's a little bit... Obviously, Pirates of the Caribbean is, like, the source material, but it's so different from Pirates.
It helps that it's not in the Caribbean. It helps that it's a really Asian influence because it's in Southeast Asia.
A little bit of Pirates of the Caribbean. There's a little bit of Fata Morgana at Efteling. There's a little bit of
Flick of
the Hollanders. Sinbad's Storybook Adventures. A little bit of...
Sinbad's...
Storybook Voyages, yeah. And even some of it reminded me of like Mystic Manor, like all the projection mapping and stuff. Like there there was a lot of great callbacks to like great dark rides and stuff. Like Europa-Park is doing their research, and it doesn't feel like it rips off of any.
It doesn't
ride.
At all, which is kind of refreshing because
It just feels like they did their research. Like,
and I'm sure people know, but like so much of of Europa-Park's dark rides, in fact, like almost all of them, they're like not as good as the original rip-offs.
Yeah.
So like they're like really rip-offy, like no hate, and it's like charming in a way because they're classic and rip-offy. But this is the only dark ride really at the park, along with Snowy 2. But Snowy 2 is so small; it's almost like a Fantasyland ride in the US.
It's like a little.
This is the only like big box attraction.
But this is like their one true e-ticket.
Really
dark
felt
ride.
like a cool, unique experience. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it felt like a love
No,
letter.
Just like how the hyping of
to
this
dark rides. Like
episode.
if you love dark rides and if you've been to like Disney parks and Universal parks around the world and enjoyed dark rides at places like Efteling. Like you'll love this ride. It's them. It's just like they understood the assignment. They killed it. The ride is so awesome. But yeah, and then so the Netherlands area, aside from the major dark ride and the restaurant, there's a coffee cup ride because the Dutch love their coffee. There's the little regatta ride because again, wayfinding boats, etc., etc. And then from there, we're kind of back in the middle of the park.
You get to Luxembourg, which is funny because this park is really close to Luxembourg and France. It's actually really close to France, Switzerland, Luxembourg. Yeah. And we have all those yet to talk about.
That's why it's Europa.
Which is kind of funny.
It's like, this park is where Europe comes.
This monorail, which, like we said, is outdoor earlier, it's almost like an RCT kind of like monorail, like RCT2. It has a couple stations.
Ones, yeah.
It has really fun.
It has one giant segment, like going from the Carousel of Rolantica to Scandinavia is like almost the entire ride. And then we got off in Scandinavia, and that was actually when we got the hot dog.
Yeah, and that's also how you go and like go over like fjord rafting, and it's how you end up going over.
You go over
Piccadilly
Circus, and then over the little Austrian girls boat ride. And then,
I really enjoyed it. It was more fun because it's open air, so you really get to kind of look around, and especially around Atlantica. Sorry, see, now it's in my brain. Atlantica Super Splash, you see, like, the boat splashing down, the kids run away. Like, it was actually really pleasant. So, that was fun. Next up on our Grand Tour is Russia. So, in Russia, we'll start with the little Ice Queen's magical crazy adventure.
The Snow Queen has her little dark ride.
The Schlittenfahrt.
Tiny
Schlittenfahrt.
Little ride, the Schlittenfahrt. And this was like Frozen before Frozen was Frozen, before Frozen was popular.
Well, it's more like Russian Frozen.
I know, but it's the Snow Queen, is it not? Like,
and this crazy snow
but I guess it takes place
as well
in Russia as opposed to like in Norway. But
cold ass Siberian Russia.
Yeah, so it's a really cute, but like
the thing I enjoyed about it is
ride.
Because it's a simple ride. Like, it's not very large. It's kind of like a Fantasyland kind of small dark ride. But it had a unique theme, which I appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And it had, like, the really cool kind of, like, Russian architecture.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Red Square kind of stuff. So I enjoyed that. That was really fun. And then there was the infamous...
Euromir.
Euromir. Okay, so I don't know if anyone knows, and if you know, like, send us a message on social media. But, like, there is, like, on the French trains for the TGV, like the Ouigo and the Inouï and stuff, there is, like, a little jingle for announcement that goes, and for some freaking reason, that was in the station.
They played the chime.
They played it, like, in the middle of the song.
And Sean and I, like, we stopped and we looked at each other. We were like,
because, like, it's kind of like our little jingle. Like, we literally pulled up on YouTube.
We say it to each other all the time.
Seconds.
We literally communicate using this jingle. Like,
so it was kind of fun that was in there. Anyway, this is like their first kind of like custom owned like big roller coaster idea that was like its own concept.
I feel like this was
cool.
Europa-Park's like first like original attraction, like their first signature ride. That was, I mean, I guess Schweizebobon, like building their bobsleds was definitely like a signature moment. But I feel like Euromir was like really their first like icon. Like it was such an iconic, and it's still an iconic. I remember seeing pictures of it in a book when I was a kid, thinking like, "Wow, like,
it's super iconic. Those towers and stuff."
It is a style icon. This ride.
Oh, totally. And so what? I mean, most people listening to this probably know, but Euromir is kind of like the first ever max spinning coaster. And here it's like a mix of controlled spinning and uncontrolled spinning. It's programmed
the whole way.
It's all programmed spinning.
Programmed.
So like you have this typical for this park. This giant spiral lift hill that has like 4 or 5 trains on it at the same time, and like you go up the side of this giant giant rocket, and then you'll go around the top of these like glass towers, and then you have a couple of like drops and helices and stuff. Honestly, the legroom is really shit, but I must say I really enjoyed, besides the uncomfortness for most of the ride, I really enjoyed the layout. It ran pretty well, like it ran pretty smooth. I enjoyed the backwards parts, forwards parts. It gets pretty intense. Like the bottom of those drops are no joke. Like it is an intense ride. There's some really cool landscaping actually. You can't even really see off ride anymore. But like you go down by like the bottom of the ride plot, and there's like these, like you go through these tunnels, and there's like this like little pond. Like it's a really nice landscape. It is when you hit the final brakes that it really fucking sucks because it just hurts so bad when you slam yourself into this metal front of the ride vehicles.
Is a portrait of a young Mack Rides. I mean, I guess the company is not young. It's been around for a really, really long time, like 200 plus years. But it just feels like a young roller coaster company, spry and ambitious, and getting their bearings and working themselves around their concepts, like kind of like the way Busch Gardens, when they built Kumba, it was like B&M figuring themselves out and like doing some pretty wild shit early on in their design process, and that's how Euromir feels, because there's nothing quite like it. Like they never built another one of these. Other Mack spinners feel a lot different because they're all random spinning, and they're bigger vehicles. They have a different track bed. Like it doesn't feel like any other roller coaster in the world, honestly. Like it's truly a signature experience and like a quintessential Europa-Park ride because it was never imitated or copied or cloned or anything. It is just like a distinctly unique experience to this park. So, and a classic, still a classic, a little rough around the edges, but like a must ride always.
And then next up we have Greece. Now, Greece is home to 2 roller coasters, a madhouse, and a mad busy freaking restaurant.
Yeah.
That was really popular. Honestly, I was totally moved for some Greek food, so I can totally imagine myself going there next for food next year, wherever we come back. But let's talk about the hidden coaster, which is the Pegasus, which used to be called Youngstar Pegasus to promote the Youngstar model, which we're riding another one this summer. When we're going to ride Zonder Beep Beep.
Oh, yeah.
It's Park Warner. Anywho, so this is a Mack. I'm sorry, like I already said. Actually, my second one. I rode one in...
We rode the one at Chimelong Paradise.
Yeah, over in Guangzhou.
It was the same layout as this, except the drop is really shallow. Instead of like going down to the ground, it's like super elevated.
And then this is also my second version of the water coaster, because I rode
Polar Explorer.
A very similar one. Yeah, so perfect. A lot of the rides here I'd already ridden in China in their newer installations. But so Poseidon was fun because it was well themed. The queue was kind of decent. It has a really cool station. It didn't track well though. It tracked kind of shitty.
It's running.
Like it was rough.
Well, Euromir felt the same way. Some of these rides. So, Can Coaster, Euroset Can Coaster was
Pegasus was good, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't mean to move on prematurely, but I want to say that Europa-Park has started... They've officially retracked one of their coasters, which means that, like, it's probably going to be a trend. I think Euromir is next. And then Poseidon needs track work. Because,
just in certain spots. Kind of
SeaWorld San Diego's got a lot of track work.
Exactly. So SeaWorld San Diego's coaster parts are all replaced with new track, but it has a spine underneath it.
Yeah.
And in SeaWorld Orlando also replaced their coaster track for the Georgia Atlanta. So Poseidon, maybe like when there's some downtime in the winter sometime, we should probably get that too. Because it's probably the most ridden of any of them. It's, park's operations are like bam, 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 bam.
That these rides are always pumping it out, like theoretical capacity every day, every time.
So. But yeah, I really like the integration of it, and I like the dark blue that it shows for the track along with the water, like the concrete water basin.
Yeah.
It's a really nice aesthetic. Like I really enjoyed that. It kind of gave me like Greece. It gave me Greasy vibes.
It's very Santorini.
And I liked that about it.
So yeah, it's a great area. I love Europa-Park, and
one of my favorite areas, I think, for sure. It's just really nice to walk around. I mean, again, it was really swamped. There's lots of multi-level walkways and stuff, and it was just swamped. But it's just like a really fun place to be. Water ride, it's just a great presence. It works really well. It's kind of hard to get to, like when you're entering Greece, kind of from the Russia side. or from the Switzerland side, I guess.
It's all just like kind of hidden in there. Like it's like you can tell the area was added later because it's very like it's tucked away. It's super cute, but I feel like you could.
It's kind of hard to find actually.
If
you can walk straight by it. And miss it.
I thought we had like
when we walked through
Switzerland and then we came around and looking at it now. There's like the big tent thing.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I miss it. Yeah.
And then we saw the construction for the new Project Voltron. I was like, oh my god, did they demolish like the whole Greece area? But I was confused because I did not really understand where we were in the park. I thought we were like coming up to the area, but it was actually already behind us. But yeah, it's a really, I think it's definitely like one of their strongest areas. They had definitely broken new ground with the Greece area. Like they had really dove headlong into major themed attractions and themed like storytelling areas. I think with this particular area.
And then the next area is Switzerland, which is also like a really nicely kind of self-contained land.
It's a tiny little
like it bleeds
sliver.
a little bit on the sides, but if you're in, I guess we'll start with the bobsled.
Because if you're waiting in line for the Wild Mouse, you got these glorious views of Santorini from your little Swiss chalet.
Yeah, you see the way to the ocean.
So,
so I guess we can start with Matterhorn Blitz then. So Matterhorn Blitz is the larger park model mech Wild Mouse, but it has a cool elevator.
Yeah.
It seemed to like this, well, like a little chalet in the
house.
Swiss hills, Swiss mountains. And then in the kitchen, you go up.
The kitchen is where the station is.
Elevator.
It's a double elevator. It gives me big cuckoo clock vibes when you come to the top of the tower and you pop out.
It kind of feels like Journey to Atlantis in San Diego when there's like two boats in the elevator and then one has to wait until the next block is cleared. So yeah, the good park model, like the big park model, lots of theming, lots of interaction. Probably one of the better Wild Mouse.
It's sort of like
out there.
We were just talking about Olympus Park Tripsdrill and like all of their little mannequin like slice of life themed animatronic scenes that they do, and that's what this ride reminded me of now with like Tripsdrill fresh in my mind. Super cute, and it may be like just a typical mouse, but this one you gotta ride it. Like this is one of the best mice ever, even though it's not like a custom layout. It's sort of custom because the elevator brings you around, and you have this long elevated straightaway before you kind of reconvene with the cookie cutter part of the ride. And then you go through all these little buildings and stuff. Like it's really lovely. Like it's a great ride.
And then obviously the other big coaster is the Schweizer which is suspended over this little chalet village, which is really cute. Because that area itself is very self-contained, but they can also like weave the queue kind of through it if needed.
Mm-hmm.
They will run like around 5 trains on our visit, but the ride doesn't do a whole lot.
The ride's like 50% brake run, so
like you go up a lift hill, and
actually
then there's
it's probably more than 50% brake run.
Suspended, like high, just straight section that kind of goes around the ride plot, and then you kind of zigzag your way down to 2 helices, and then you hit the brakes. So there really isn't much to it.
And the brake run could not be further away from the station. Like it literally is the farthest part of the ride from the station.
Yeah, and then you just make like 5 blocks back to the station.
Set of brakes, and then you make a U-turn and like a little S curve, and then you go into another set of brakes, and then another set of brakes, and you go through the maintenance bay, and then another set of brakes, and then you go to the station.
It's pretty wild. But the nice thing is how nice it's integrated. And there's like also little food stands, and like it's like a cute little like mountain ski village, really. And then there's this one little hut where you can sit and eat, and like you're above the coaster, and you actually get to see the coaster kind of running through the helix. Really fun. It was a great ride. Ran pretty well. Very smooth, but it just wasn't a lot to it. But I enjoyed its integration
we had just ridden
a lot.
Bob on it at Europa-Park, which like. That could ruin any bobsled coaster for you, let alone the prototype one. Also, they have that like spinning, like that suspended scrambler.
Like the balloon thing?
Yeah, it's like the airplane scramble type thing, and it's like a really complex, cool looking flat ride that I'm sure Europa-Park was, I'm sure they thought they were just going to be the first of many installations of this flat ride, and it ended up, I guess, not selling any other units, so it's unique to the park. But it's a really cool looking ride.
And then next up is France. We rode the Euro Tower, I think it's called, which is their observation tower. Right. Not like I said earlier, Sky Ride. It's the observation tower. Gives you a great view of the fountain. You kind of like kind of fountain show in the France area. and of course the rest of the park and the region. I enjoyed the ride a lot. Also in the area is Eurosat's Can coaster, which that of course is the reimagined Eurosat that we mentioned earlier, one of the many retracked attractions at the park. Hopefully a trend for Poseidon to also get retracked. And Euromir, of course.
It was a cute ride, but
I liked the queue a lot.
The queue was beautiful.
And the station was awesome, like being in a kind of like out, like the outside kind of terrace
like the
thingy.
Moulin Rouge.
Really cool. The ride itself, really confusing
it was
story.
Cute.
I didn't really get what was going on.
It wasn't like a lot of substantial things to see. I like laughed the whole way. Like it was a charming, likable ride with the music and stuff, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I guess I didn't know what to expect, and it was fine. It was fine. I mean, it ran smooth. It was a fun ride, but and the pacing felt very the same the entire ride. So I didn't really feel like there was a lot of forces. Like it didn't feel as intense. I will say. I think it's better than it was before, as like the original Eurosat. But I remember the original Eurosat feeling very intense by the end of it. And I think Can Coaster that kind of neutered it a little bit, but it's a really adorable ride. And like a great overall attraction. And
I enjoyed it. I have good memories of it.
Europa-Park
was pretty decent.
With like Parat and Batavia and fjord rafting and Can Coaster, like they're definitely in the mode of revitalizing existing attractions, and so far they've all been great successes. So, and then there's
Silver Star.
And then there's Silver Star in the Mercedes-Benz Pavilion, which is a German car manufacturer, but it's in France.
And it's located right by Germany, so I don't know why they couldn't just make this a German ride.
Well, it's kind of but you have to go through.
Yeah, you have to.
Italy, and it's in the back.
If they really wanted to, they could have made it work. But
they could have made
my
it work.
Opinion.
But it's
anywho. So I guess now it's French race car themed.
Yeah.
It's just like any other B&M hypercoaster. Masses love it. It's a
It's
crowd
a good
pleaser.
Ride.
It's a aesthetically pleasing ride.
Supports.
Like that it's 9-car trains, long trains. The finale is like swift little S-turn. That's fun. Clearance on it is pretty rough. Like it's not really big people friendly.
We barely got
it. It was
ride.
wild. They had to like jump on my restraint to get it close, and I couldn't feel my legs. It was pretty wild. So I didn't love the ride because I think it just was kind of uncomfortable. Like I was really kind of in pain, but I got the credit.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, it was fine. This park, honestly, for coaster enthusiasts, has a lot of coasters, but a lot of it's really production modelly or kind of like they're good rides, but it's not like wow, crazy, insane.
Does not leave like a lot of impressions.
Well, because half of not the majority of production models are going to be bought. Yeah. And be put elsewhere, and the more unique stuff like Eurostar is obviously unique. Silver Star is a unique layout, of course. Eurosat's unique, of course. Euromir is unique. Wodan obviously is unique. But other than that, it's a kind of cookie stuff.
Yeah,
but it's not bad because they theme it well and they like have these crazy good operations. But at the same time, it's not like a coaster destination. You really have to go for like everything, for like the themed lands and like the dark rides
and linger and enjoy the theme and like dark rides and stuff. And the coasters are just kind of part of it. They're definitely not the focus.
And that's our finishing this with the dark ride section.
We have to finish this with Italy because Italy is funny as hell.
It's a hot mess.
They've got Piccolo Mondo, which is the Small World meets Pinocchio's Daring Journey hybrid.
Which, to be honest, was actually really good.
It was actually cute.
It was
better
enjoyed
than expected.
Like, it was cute puppeteering. All the puppets are the same kind of puppets, which is nice. And I just really enjoyed it. Like it was a fun little ride. Like, I'm glad I rode it. Obviously, Piccolo Mondo literally means Small World in Italian.
Yeah.
And then there was the
Haunted Mansion ride, which
rip-off.
is note for note a horribly cringy rip-off of the Haunted Mansion.
I know, and then it threw this Happy Family franchise in it.
They recreated the elevator scene, but like badly. And then it's just a hot ass mess in there. Like this shit needs to burn down,
oh my God,
so that they can rebuild it next. Like,
there's like no cohesion whatsoever between like the themes and like the aesthetics and the styles.
And then there's the crummy, flimsy, like Happy Family, which is a Mac Media franchise. Like overlay on top. It was incredibly bad.
It was very bad. We hated it very much.
Everybody that's like,
oh
Europa-Park is the greatest, this, that, and so I'm like, have you forgotten?
That's my least favorite thing there.
Some of these things are.
But then they do have like the cute, like suspended Da Vinci flying machine ride. And like they've got like these other garden rides and this little water ride.
There's
like,
a cute on the move ride in France that we forgot to ride. The dinosaur. Grandma's dinosaur ride or something.
Yeah.
But like I'd forgotten about it until we were like back in the States. And I was like, oh shit, I forgot to ride the dinosaur grandma ride. But yeah, not exactly ending on a high note, but it was either this or ending with Baba Express in Ireland.
Yeah, the circle, like the main entrance doesn't start with like the most exciting areas.
Yeah.
It really gets better kind of thicker into the park. Overall, though, I must say, merchandise-wise, but it's just like a German park thing, not great.
Yeah, we were going to buy some merch, and not only was the merch not a great, not only did they not have great merch, but it was like
a shit show
in the store.
It was not great.
It was so disorganized that like I picked out a fridge magnet and then I
waited in line and then like the machine broke down and then there's no one else could help
and then I just set it back down and left, which is like
really unusual for us.
Bad.
But
sorry guys.
What I will say is, first of all, fun fact: people actually that work in the park from entertainment and from engineering / design live in the Main Street area in the Alexanderplatz, not the Berlin area. That's really cool. Secondly, I do want to say that like this park. Well, it has its rough spots, and I don't necessarily always think that like being ranked as like the #1 park in the world is necessarily true, because we've been to obviously a lot of parks around the world, and I don't think it's in our top 5. If I'm speaking,
it's in our top 10, but no, it's not in our top
5. And so go in with the right expectation. But what I will say is that the operations are just on fire. Though if there's one thing Europa-Park knows what to do is to push out those damn trains. They get cars, trains, boats filled. It can be completely swamped. It's kind of like Disneyland Anaheim level of like on top of itself, like stacking rides, busy, packed, cultural, as in like it's kind of like a cultural experience. And they just like get those trains sent out. It's like Disney level dispatching. It's like 3 or 4 trains on Blue Fire. Obviously, a Silver Star runs 3 trains, no problem. Eurostar pushes those things out. Euromir has a crap ton of trains. Wodan runs 3 trains. They're the only GCI without a mid-course that runs 3 trains smoothly. Like, it is impressive how they operate the park, and that's, as like a theme park nerd, that's a really pleasant kind of cool thing to look at. There is some really good theming. There are some really good dark rides. Of course, you heard us hyping up some of the stuff. There's a lot of good, and they are trending in a direction where they're taking their bad and they're upgrading it to be good. So I hope that some of the rougher spots where I'm like, wow, this is not what I was expecting, like quality-wise, that I do expect in the next decade for that to be fixed. So overall, of course, great park, one of the greatest parks. Going with the right expectations, and you two will have a great time, I think, for sure.
Absolutely.
And like the fact that we were able to do practically every single ride, except for maybe like a few of like the smaller transportation rides, and like the Ireland stuff, we did practically all the big stuff, did some re-rides, and then a ton of other stuff, all within one calendar day. That's only possible because of their great operations. And at the end of the day, like that is a quality that a lot of parks, even some of our favorites, don't possess. That's a great operations and getting people moved through so they can have a great experience. And staff was always nice there. I don't think they had any. We had pretty much like all just like amazing staff interactions. Like it was just overall good stuff. So much more greatness than not great. But of course, we're going to be honest with you guys and bring out some of the things that we didn't love, especially for those really hyped up parks. We're not afraid to. Share my lesser.
Sometimes it's like, no, we gotta harsh the mellow a little bit, because like Europa-Park is far from perfect. It's a great park, but it's like there's a lot of things that I would change about it. So.
Yeah, for sure. So check out all of the other Germany stuff that's coming out that we're still catching up on, which we have. This is our 4th. So we have Tripsel, Hansapark, and Movepark already out. We're gonna have some more episodes. Of course, there's some hot topics, some other good stuff. Visit thecoastskins.com for all of our articles, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the good stuff. And please, please, please give us a follow on our new YouTube channel. We would really appreciate some interaction there. And wherever you're listening, whether that's Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you're listening, also leave us a review there. And we will catch you on the next Coastal Kings Radio episode.
Bye.
Bye.